My name is Tommy Guerrero. I grew up in San Francisco, California, planet Earth. And I started skating in 1975, and I started skating the hills. That was my first skate park, 17th Avenue. Yeah, so I started skating in 75, grew up basically on 17th Avenue between Irving and Judah, where there's a series of hills and all these bumps that go down the hill and these driveways. And a friend of mine gave me a skateboard. Skateboarding in San Francisco, to me, was about adapting to your environment, because there's no way you're going to escape the hills. Because whenever you go skate around, and that's what we did, we would skate from one end of the city to the other during the day. We'd skate to Embarcadero, then we'd skate all the way to Ocean Beach. So there's no way of getting around the hills. The topography of it is just unique in that sense as well, where you don't have many cities that are quite like San Francisco in the landscape of it. So if you're going up a hill, be prepared to go down the hill, right? And so it teaches you these different techniques and how to get around the city on your skateboard out of necessity, which is cool. And then it also instills this desire to go fast. So even when you're skating flat ground, you still skate fast, which was unique, I think, for quite some time to San Franciscan skaters. San Francisco is a concrete playground, and so many people, obviously the architects and so forth, city planners, they had no idea that we would be transcending these objects and obstacles and things that they thought were helpful to the everyday pedestrian, jumping down stairs and doing, board sliding rails and so forth was probably never part of their original plan. But the way San Francisco is laid out as well, it's tiny, right? It's supposed to be 7 by 7. So you can skate the entire city in a day and just seek new spots. And they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, like everything can be skated. And so it just opened up so many possibilities that it did create a unique way of skateboarding, for sure, especially street skating. And when you were young and you're street skating, you're mimicking vert tricks. So that also, when you're mimicking vert tricks on the street, you're like, I want to do a 50-50, and you learn how to do 50-50s on a stair, or something, or hand plants in driveways and stuff like that. It definitely a skater's kind of paradise. For me, the most iconic skate spot isn't a spot. It's the hills themselves, because that's where I grew up. I grew up in the avenues, and so you're surrounded by hills. And so I just adapted, and learned how to skate hills, and the fun, of course, the thrill. But it wasn't just about bombing hills for me. It was all about all the nooks and crannies and stuff, and the sidewalks and the hips and everything you could hit along the way. It was like almost sometimes like skating a snake run at a skate park. And that's kind of the way I envisioned it, because I grew up skating skate parks in the late 70s, and then they all closed. So we all went back to the streets, and we're just adapting skate park tricks to the streets. And so now I think it's very different. I think community now is at the forefront for a lot of people, looking for their people, right? Looking for their tribe, as people say. And I think it's super important, especially now with, the way everything is in the world. I think it is important to surround yourself with like-minded people, and people who have the same passion and belief system. And skateboarding is about fun. So you can bring all that joy together with friends, community, friendship, and skateboarding. It's the greatest. The future of skating in San Francisco, I think, is just going to grow. Skateboarding in itself, because of now skateboarding being seen as something positive. When I grew up, it was not positive. We got a lot of grief for it. We got tickets by cops, we got harassed, we got arrested, we got kicked out of everywhere, literally. So it's changed. The perspective has changed greatly, and the city's making skate parks, building parks all over the city, which is great. So I think it's going to be sustained much longer than when we went through the periods of the downturns, going from the late 70s, 80s, parks closed, and then it picked back up mid-late 80s, 90s. I think now it's going to be much more sustained. I think there's going to be a lot more skaters. There's going to be a lot more people getting into skateboarding, not necessarily for the glory and fame, but just for the feeling of it, just for the community of it. But there's also going to be people getting into it just for the fame and the fortune and the accolades and so forth, because you have it now in the Olympics. So that's like a goal. That's an aspiration now. Where that was with us, there was never no aspiration. You weren't going to amount to anything. And the teachers told you that, and everybody told you you're not going to amount to anything riding a skateboard. So it's very different. So I think the future of skateboarding is much brighter than when I was growing up.